Hi, I'm Rick Snyder. We've talked about this forever. Pizza and pigskin tours, where we eat pizza, we walk around, see a little bit of historical sites and all that. Well, it's finally happening. You can go to my website, monumentalthoughts.com, and see where how you can get tickets. The tickets do include the price of pizza and non-alcoholic drinks. Pay for your own beer. But we're going to walk around Georgetown, 20, 30 minutes. I'm going to show you a lot of cool stuff. Then we're just going to sit and talk and eat pizza and whatever you want to ask, I'll talk about, as long as they don't get me in court. So make sure you come and see the pizza and pigskin tours at monumentalthoughts.com, and I'll be eating pizza with you soon.
Hey everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of The Hogside. This is your host, Alex, with you. I am joined, as always, for the weekly show by Steve and Jamal. Guys, I hope you enjoyed that game last night. Friday night game that we all got to watch on preseason football. And we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the next game coming up against Baltimore. But first, we have some other things to talk about with this team because, it's preseason. We're not going to just focus on one preseason game for an hour. That would be silly.
That would be torturous.
It would be a little bit torturous. Steve, I know there were some roster moves.
But you may be into torture. Some people are. Some people may be into torture, though.
Hey, it's 21st century. Some people learn some weird things. So
look, football is amazing.
Yes.
I'm here for it. Any type of action. Let me have it.
Yes. But so let's talk about the roster moves. I know they made a few moves this season or this weekend or week, whatever you want to say. Yes.
This past
week,
the team cut two players. Greg Stroman, who was at one point was a fan favorite just simply because of where he went to school, and then tight end Nick Gugamos, who was here for about 5 minutes that nobody knew who he was.
Right.
And good luck to him. Good luck to them both, obviously. But, in terms of Stroman, that's the one that everybody cares about. He's caught up in a numbers game, and he's caught up in the fact that the team has drafted other players, right. And Stroman is from the prior generation. And, when you're a seventh-round pick, it's hard to say you didn't live up to something. I think he performed about like a seventh-round pick is expected to perform, which is he hung around for a couple years. He was a backup, and now he's not here. So certainly, best of luck to him.
Yeah.
There's a small dead cap hit for him, and none for Gugamos. So that's roster moves.
Stroman was in the third year of his deal, something like that. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. A benign player. Nothing good, nothing bad to talk about. Just a guy who was here, and did his. I don't even know what did his thing would mean for him, but he was here. I don't know. I don't know what else to say. It's just crazy. It's not crazy, but he's just been around for some time, so it's good to. I know he had a great experience with Washington. Obviously, we wish the best for a guy like him. As far as Gugamos, I didn't even know he was on the team until he got cut. So
yeah.
Well, they've made a couple moves like that this offseason where they have announced a signing. I don't even have a chance to update our roster page, and then they cut him the next day. That's not the only one that's happened to.
Yes, yeah. We signed a tight end from Philly who cares, right?
Well, Caleb Wilson, he was here before. Yeah. Actually, Wilson, I think, is a guy to watch out for a little bit. He's not going to start over Logan Thomas or anything, but he's been around. He's played. Sure. He's a veteran, and they need somebody desperately. So, by the way, so the roster cut down schedule, in case anybody's wondering, August 24th, which is this week, they have to cut down to 80, and then August 31st is final cut down day.
So August 24th. When did we say the next game is? Is it so? It's before the next game. They have to cut down to 80.
Correct. They got 5 more players get cut this week.
Okay.
Yep, from 85 to 80, I think. Is that the right number? 85 to 80.
85 to 80, yeah, and that's Tuesday. So Tuesday there will be more cuts.
Saturday is the next game. I thought that they were smart when they started going this direction of keeping more players all through preseason. It never made sense you had to cut down to like 60 at one point for the last game. It was very weird, you know.
There's no reason to not be able to keep all the a lot of players.
Of course. Yeah. And that was actually something I think I remember Dan Snyder was pushing was this keep more players longer in preseason. So that was it.
Hey, look, he did something good.
So, you know,
that's his legacy.
That's his legacy. That and the pink October thing, because that was him and his wife. So,
well, yeah, it was more her than him.
But the Snyders. All right, so good luck to Greg Stroman.
He needs to be given credit for something, so let's give him credit for that.
Yeah. Good luck to Greg Stroman. Good luck to the guys we bring in, I guess, to replace him. I don't even know if they brought in anybody really to replace him.
Well, they have a whole army at corner. They don't need anybody, and tight end is the one. And again, this was earlier in the week, but Caleb Wilson, who everybody remembers was with with Washington for a little bit a couple years ago. They claimed him off of waivers. So he has, let me see.
They're just trying to get a copy of the Eagles playbook is what I think that was.
Well, I mean, they do need somebody.
What, revenge of that quarterback, Nate Sudfeld? They on some get back mode? Is that where we're at?
Yes. Well, they got a new coach. You have no idea what he wants to do. So you get yourself a tight end and see what he can tell you. All right, so before we get into the preseason game, which I think we're going to spend a bulk of time about, I do want to touch on, there wasn't a lot of news this week, but the team released a video probably Wednesday about their whole, name change, making the brand thing. It's interesting that they're getting very into that stuff right now just before the season starts. It feels like there's been a lot of news about it. And there was a big to-do about the video because the video in it says Ron and Jason are down to 3 names. And, there's a clip of them sitting down looking at designs. They don't show you anything. It's all blurred out. And Jason and Ron are like, I like blank, blank, and blank. And they beep out the names. And they kind of, do that. And then in the video, they showed, I think, 6 or 7 different names. And it was Red Wolves, Red Hogs, Armada, Defenders, Commanders, and Presidents. Those are ones I remember off the top of my head. I think there might have been 1 or 2 more. But everyone made a big deal about, so we're down to 3 from this 6. And so everyone was freaking out about that. They also released some design ideas for a new logo, most of which were terrible. And people were freaking out about that. The team just kind of sat on that for 2 days, and then Jason Wright comes out and says, oh, no. We are down to 3 names, but it's not necessarily from that list. So it was this whole elaborate ruse to get everyone all ginned up on social media again. And then we find out it could even be something totally different from what we just saw. Which,
let me tell y'all something.
That does annoy me.
Let's hear it, Steve.
First of all, I haven't seen any of this, so thank God. I'm over it.
You're over it?
Okay?
Yeah.
I'm completely, totally over it.
When were you under it?
I'm sick and tired of this name stuff. I've been over it for a long time. I think this was clearly an intentional ruse, obviously, by the team. I'm totally over this name change thing. I think the team has screwed this up in every possible way. They should never have changed the name in the first place. And the way, accepting that they have changed it, the way they've gone about it has been absolutely absurd and ridiculous. They ought to be ashamed of themselves. They're never going to make everybody happy. It's not possible to be woke and PC enough for these names. Just take a page from the Cleveland Indians playbook, for the love of God, and just do it. Just whatever it is, just announce it. Stop toying with everybody. I just can't tell you how very tired I am of this whole name change thing.
I mean, I tend to agree. The Indians made a move, and they just said, this is what we're doing. Now, the Indians made a mistake in maybe not double-checking to make sure that name wasn't already trademarked. Wait,
Well, look, every name Washington is going
I know.
to pick is trademarked,
but
okay?
They need to haggle that out before they announce it.
Oh,
where the Indians...
I do. Speaking of that, I do have news. Philip McCauley still has not heard from the team or his lawyer. He has an attorney, and so he probably, whatever name these guys are like torturing us with, McCauley probably has a trademark for.
Yeah.
So that's going to be the tell, is when they start to deal with it.
It's either going to be him or there's one other couple.
Yeah, there's a couple other guys who have some. But yeah, the odds are they're going to have to talk to Philip McCauley, and they haven't yet. At least as of a couple days ago.
Yeah. So, Jamal, I'm sure you saw all that online because you're actually on social media.
Yeah. I thought it was interesting. The video itself. I think where they continue to get in trouble is like the constant need to clarify things, and that's what Jason Wright did, and what you broke down, Alex, is what is your purpose? Like, what is the purpose of putting out the video and then saying, well, this is what we really meant? Like, just let the video be a standalone. Whatever conclusions people draw from the video, that's on them. You don't have to clarify every single thing. And when you clarify, it kind of hurts you because you're asking, or you're trying to figure out, or not you, but the actual fan base and people who are invested in looking into the name is like, well, what's the purpose of all these videos? The thing is, though, it doesn't matter how we see it if a select group of fans are just eating it up. It doesn't matter, because whatever the team feeds them, they'll eat it up, and that's who's really intended for. So I agree. I shouldn't say this. I understand Steve's point. I don't agree or disagree, Steve. So I'm not against you in this manner. But
feel free to be against.
No,
me.
no.
It's okay.
I'm serious. I'm serious with this. I'm serious with this conversation. I understand Steve's point, 100%, and I get the gripe from people who are like feeling like this stuff is a waste of time, man. And salute to the people who eat it up and are enjoying the process. But truth be told, they need to be a little bit more careful in how they produce things. And Jason Wright, no matter how transparent or communicative he wants to be with the fan base, sometimes you just have to let things go. If you're gonna put something out there like that, don't clarify. Just let it live. Let whatever you put out there live. And even if those aren't the team names, because truthfully, I believe they were. And I just think he's saying he's backtracking a bit to have people stop thinking about what they saw in the video. But I think what we shown, or what they shown in the video, are the names that they're considering. Because think about it like this: if it wasn't, why in God's green earth would they invite fans out there, people who are vested interests or investments or stakeholders into the team? Why would they invite them out there and do like a sample, or I forgot the actual word when you have those, a focus group? Why would you have those type of people out there and tell them those aren't the real names that you're considering? I doubt it, and he's just backtracking. But you got to stop doing it. You just got to let it live and stop caring so much about what the hell people are saying about this process. If you're going to do it and leave it alone.
Yeah.
Amen. I mean, I'm so glad you said that, Jamal. I totally
Here's
agree.
the thing. I am the target that I think you would look for when it comes to this stuff, this kind of content. Of all of us, I'm definitely the guy who gets most into names, uniforms, team history, all that.
Oh, of our group,
yeah,
absolutely.
So I'm the guy that they should be focused on. Even I'm pissed off about this one because it doesn't feel good to feel like you spent any time focusing on something and then they're like, oh, no, that's not it, you know.
Well, I got news flash for everybody also, by the way. This isn't Jason Wright's call,
of course
okay?
Not.
It's not Ron Rivera's call. It's Dan Snyder's call, period. That's it. It's Dan Snyder, and obviously Tanya will have a vote. The two of them will decide. You know, so anybody who believes, you know, that whatever this, I haven't seen it, but this video where Jason says the blank, blank, and blank, Dan could do whatever he wants.
Sure.
It's just a hype video. It's just to tease people. And Jamal's 100% right. Just let it live. Whatever you put out, let it live.
Of course.
All the backtracking stuff makes you look just ridiculous. And again, I'm just totally over all of it. I really am. I can't take it another day. Just tell me what it is, and I'll either continue watching the team or not.
Just
do that.
The only other thing I'll say is the logos they came out with. Most of them were garbage. They looked cheap and like someone half-assed did it. You could literally just go on Twitter and find like the top couple guys who have been designing these things for fun, and just get them to do a better job.
Are you one of those?
Oh, I'm not one of the top guys. No. I don't consider myself a great graphic designer by any means. But there are guys who are doing stuff out there that I'd say are incredible.
What were these 8 names again?
The ones I remember: Armada, Defenders, Brigade, Commanders,
definitely Red Wolves,
Red Hogs, and Presidents.
Presidents.
Is
oh my
awful.
God.
That's a terrible name. They should not go with that. I
don't even know what to say about any of those names. They're all. I mean,
they're all just their names. It's a noun. Go forward, like some people like to say now. But yeah, my issue is almost always more with graphic design than name. And that's just because I'm a visual person. So,
Well, and remember, this isn't going to end until the off season, so we've got months and months.
Yeah,
of this
we have till
nonsense to
next
look forward
March.
to. God.
I mean, they said that
Just kill me
they
now.
plan to have it done by the draft. That's their deadline. So, all right, let's move on though. Let's talk about this preseason game because that was an interesting game, very different from last week. I'll say that.
Can I stop you real quick before you get
sure.
into this? To the person who asked me to look into the Armada trademark, there are a whole bunch of different Armada trademarks that currently exist. A lot of them are software. Let's see. I'm not going to get into who all, but there's a lot of Armada trademarks. Mm-hmm. So this is not one that will be free and clear for the team to use. So there you go to the person who asked that.
I mean, none of these names are going to be completely free and clear, I'm assuming. So
yeah.
You're going to need to be...
I think that's kind of the thing that people get hung up on too, because I've seen people arguing about when people made the opinion that they made of saying just come out with a name already, which is, I mean, that's a perfectly fine opinion to have especially if you're frustrated with the process or annoyed by the process. But I think one of the people, like they mentioned, look at what the Guardians are going through, and to you all's point, odds are you're gonna come up, Cleveland Guardians, excuse me, to be more specific. Think about, like, you're always gonna come up with an issue, and odds are it's gonna be somebody who already has that name. We're in 2021. Like, there's 1,000 people who thought of the Guardians already. Just pay it off. Like, eventually it's gonna be settled. You'll have the money to do it, especially for Washington football team. So I don't think those are big hiccups for an organization this big.
Yeah, my only argument about that was when I was mentioning it earlier. You probably should have made that agreement and figured that out before you announced your new name. That was kind of a bad look for them. That they're like, oh, whoops.
Yeah, this Armada thing. There's software. There's protective industrial boots. There's recreational vehicles. There's all kinds of things in here.
Yeah.
For Armada.
Well,
so
there's
there you go.
That for a lot of these names.
Oh, there are. I've looked at them. I have looked at all of them. Not in a while, but I've looked at all of these.
There's no way that, like, for example, I don't think there's any way they would get Defenders because the XFL's still going to try and come back in 2022. Things like that.
Anything is gettable, okay? Everything has a price. If you pay somebody enough money,
yeah, but
you could get almost anything done.
It would just be weird
okay?
also to just take the name the XFL team had.
That's not the point. The point is, all these trademarks are gettable, okay? All of them. If you just pay somebody enough, pay them off, everything can be gotten.
Well, yeah, of course.
Do you want to name a team after a failed minor football league? No, of course not.
No, that's weird. It's weird to do that.
Yes.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, we'll see. I doubt we're really going to ever get anything more than this kind of thing from them. They'll just keep teasing.
These guys are going to make me talk about this for week after week after week, I know, and I'm going to want to hang myself at some point.
Well, all right. Moratorium on the name unless it's something really interesting that leaks, all right? Okay, let's talk about this game. The one thing I found interesting off the bat that I want to start discussing, the momentum of the offense felt very different. The first team offense felt very different at the offset of this game versus last week. And I want to start with the offense this week, and specifically the starters, guys. Because last week, they didn't score or anything, but it felt like they came out and Fitzpatrick had good rhythm. The run game was, had some good tempo to it. This week, it felt like the line was getting dominated suddenly. And you don't think of Cleveland having some kind of great defensive line. Cincinnati.
Yeah, Cleveland does
Ohio, various Ohio Orange team. But you don't think of them as being like a great defensive line. Yet it really felt like the offense was struggling to find its rhythm early, and it started with, those guys up front to me. I don't know what you guys thought.
Yeah. First of all, in terms of offense, Fitzpatrick was 7 for 13 for 96 yards. Heineke was 11 for 13 for 80 yards. Kyle Allen was 2 for 4 for 23. Antonio Gibson was 7 for 28 on the ground. Jared Patterson 16 for 71. And then in the air, Gandy Golden was 3 for 38. De'Ami Brown 2 for 33. Jarrett Patterson 3 for 25. And then a bunch of other people had a bunch of other catches. Last week we saw some bastardized version of Fitz Magic a little bit. I mean, they still didn't score, a touchdown, but this week he just looked bad. I thought the offensive line looked bad in both the run game and pass blocking, but really and truly in the air, I thought Fitzpatrick was his own worst enemy. He overthrew people. He wasn't on the same page with Adam Humphries at least once.
No, I would say
maybe twice.
That interception would ended up being who knows whose fault it would have been, but the interception would have been a result of miscommunication between he and Adam Humphries.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. So I wasn't impressed at all. And I'm disappointed that Rivera took these guys out at about roughly at the end of the first quarter. I think they should have played 3 quarters. They need to work. This offense is not very good.
So I think I have a different perspective on Fitzpatrick. Only because I don't think he was bad. I think in some instances he showcased his ability, like what we saw or what we anticipated him to be, somebody who's comfortable as a quarterback. He's making the right reads. We knew he was going to know where to go with the football. One of the plays that we saw, I think if it wasn't the first possession, it was the second possession, where he escaped the pocket, rolled right. As he's falling down, he still has the arm strength enough to get the ball to De'Ami Brown, and for whatever reason, De'Ami Brown fails to make a play for his quarterback, which would have converted. I think it was like a 2nd and long or maybe a 3rd and long. It would have been a first down, and he dropped it. So who knows what would have happened as a result of that drive? But that was a first down conversion that we missed out on. And the only reason why I'm bringing this up is to say I think Fitzpatrick had some bad moments. Those overthrows in the red zone was unacceptable. I think what Humphries did when he overthrew Humphries in the end zone, what Humphries did to create separation at the tail end of the route and the throw was amazing to see, because at the very split second you can see how good Adam Humphries and his veteran savviness is. Like he quick little stab to the defender, and he gets 2 yards of separation at the end of the throw, and yet Fitzpatrick still overthrows him. So it was rough to see in the red zone. And again, like we just talked about, that interception, or would have been an interception as a result of the miscommunication between Adam Humphries and Fitzpatrick. For those who didn't see it, Ryan Fitzpatrick threw it right to their linebacker, where Adam Humphries was running what appeared to be a drag route. However, it was a drag and stop. He sat in the middle of the field versus actually continuing his drag route, and that's kind of what happened between those two. So it was rough, inconsistent, but also showed some good moments as well. Because we didn't even talk about, because I mentioned the De'Ami drop, but De'Ami had a big play down the field for nearly 30 yards between he and Fitzpatrick. So there were some good moments for all three quarterbacks, and I guess we'll get the other two, but there were some bright moments for all three quarterbacks. But Fitzpatrick definitely had some missed opportunities that you really can't afford, especially for a starting offense who hasn't scored a touchdown yet in 2 games, albeit like 4 or 5 possessions, but still, that's not good.
It's not ideal. It's not ideal.
No, and I just thought, I mean, the offensive line in particular needs to work. I really had hoped they would have played significantly more.
I think they kept
I mean, interrupt you, Alex. I'm sorry.
Some of the offensive linemen. Really, it was just it was just that Heineke and Fitz swapped out at the end of that first quarter for the most part.
Yeah, but they at one point then Sadiq Charles was in, and they didn't. They need the entire starting group needs to play.
I agree with you,
and they're not going to play more next week.
Yeah, I mean it'll be interesting to see because I had a debate with somebody online about like I would think that next week it's treated like the normal game 4 where you don't play any starters, but some people seem to think it will be the dress rehearsal still, which is odd.
I'm with you. Yeah. I don't think they're going to play anybody.
The thing I noticed with Fitzpatrick, it was he looked comfortable at the start, but after that one play where the defensive tackle came right at him and he had to roll out and kind of like scramble, it was after that he seemed to just have happy feet every time he was dropping back. If you looked at his footwork, he was doing that thing where they like step really quickly and, after that, he was just off target more and rushing everything. So,
yeah, I mean, I think Jamal you had it right in that it's not a matter of him making the wrong reads, not scanning the field. He just didn't throw the ball well.
Yeah.
I mean, but this is also what Ryan Fitzpatrick is. Sure. Remember, I mean, he's Mr. Inconsistency. This is the hallmark of his entire career. He's going to have these games where he looks bad like this, and then he's going to have other games where he looks good. I mean, this is not going to be Tom Brady here. Just because he's played 17 years and he's Fitzpatrick's like 85 years old does not mean that he's Tom Brady. No. So we're going to get this all year. We are going to have games we're going to be on the Hogs side going, God, Fitzpatrick was missing everything. I just think that's who he is. But it's clear, like the play that Jamal was talking about, clear that they still need work and they still need practice and game time to get used to knowing what each other's going to do. Because you're exactly right. I mean, it was a drag route, and Fitzpatrick kind of led him as though Humphries is going to continue, and they just weren't on the same page at all in that. And I'd like to see what you guys thought about the running game. I'm not talking about Jared Patterson. I'm talking about the starters.
I'll tell you what I liked and what I didn't like. I think that when they're running and they're doing a lot of, pulling and, kind of zone run stuff, inside and, even on the edges a little bit, they're pretty good. I thought Gibson had a couple of really nice runs in those kind of plays. He had one 9-yard run where he almost fumbled it looked like, but... other than that, I thought that was okay. The thing that they don't seem to have right now is classic hat on the hat power running. We saw that in that 4th and inches play, where first off, I think everyone knew where the ball was going because they lined up in some weird like 3 tight end shotgun. Everyone's on one side of the field play. Like everybody knew where that ball was going and they couldn't get a foot. So, that I don't think they have the beef up front in this line to really do that kind of thing. And that's probably not Gibson's style anyway, So.
I think we're going to talk about the backs in general. I think, outside of Patterson, because I guess he needs a conversation by himself. Gibson, he's still getting his feet wet. And I actually don't think he's struggling per se. I think that this is a moment for him because he didn't have a preseason last year. So this is a good moment for him just to even work on some things that he's been working on over the course of an off season and things like that. Whatever that may be, I can't tell you specifics, but this is a good opportunity to do that. Test his legs out, get his feet under him, and I think that's really it for a guy like Antonio Gibson. But as far as Peyton Barber goes, you're just trying to see something. Like, you know what his role was. His role wasn't that significant for this team, but you just want to see something more, especially in the preseason where, he's not going up against all the ones. Like, he's going up against 2s and 3s too. So if he ain't showing out against them either, that's not encouraging. I'll put it that way. So you kind of have to worry about these type of things.
My thoughts. I'm glad to hear Joe Theismann to you guys a couple days ago, say what I've been saying for a year, which is that Antonio Gibson wasn't really a classic power running back in college. He was kind of a scat back. He didn't run a lot of gap power plays at all. He's not really a running back in the traditional sense. He's having to learn this. And what I noticed from him last week was that is exactly what he's been working on. He's been working on how to run gap power plays. And he did that again last night. And that's what Theismann noticed is he hit the gaps, and he made some correct reads. The blocking wasn't very good. I'm actually fairly encouraged about what I've seen from Antonio Gibson. To me, the problem was really more offensive line blocking more than anything else. I thought they inhibited the run game more so than Antonio Gibson. I like the way Gibson is progressing. It's just a blocking thing to me.
Yeah, I think that kind of points to what I was talking about too with, they really just don't seem to be ready yet to do those power blocking type plays. I do, but like I said, I do think that the run blocking was pretty good when they were doing a lot of pulling of a guard to kind of be the lead blocker stuff, and that helps a guy like Gibson out because he knows who to follow right off the bat, so that can be helpful for a young back in my mind.
Well, part of the problem here is just this is a whole new offensive line. The only ones that are the same are Brandon Scherf and Chase Roullier. These guys need to learn how to play together. They need time on the field. That's why I was hoping to see them play into the third quarter. They really need time because more than anything, as we all know, this isn't news, but offensive lines, more than any group, need time to gel, and they stick together. You don't rotate offensive linemen in and out. They need time, and this group just hasn't had it at all, and so they need to play. That's what the biggest takeaway for me of this game was that Ron Rivera needed to play the starters longer than he did. That's my big takeaway out of this game.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you're wrong. I think that the starters could have used more time. The only thing I'm concerned about with this line, I think they're going to get it. Give them time, and over the course of the season, this is going to get better. I worry that they are going to look back and say maybe we should have just kept Moses for one more year just to have. So maybe you're only moving 2 guys over rather than 3. I do kind of wonder if they'll regret that down the road.
I would love to jump in on these conversations, but Dakota is over here screaming her ass off because she sees a dog outside the window. So I'll try and be quick. I'll try and be quick.
We saw you walking behind you to take care of that.
I was wondering what was going on. Jamal didn't say anything.
You can hear it right now. She's
Dakota is having a major problem with the Redskins.
She is having a breakdown over this dog that she cannot go outside and physically play with. I'll just say this. I agree with both of you all. I wanted to see the starters out a little bit, at least one possession further than where they ended. It was rough. But I'm not going to lie to you all because you mentioned it earlier, and then obviously it was y'all's opinion. My opinion on this matter is that they are going to be playing in the third preseason game, and I think they'll end up playing a half. I don't think because it's the last preseason game they're going to treat it like the fourth. I think they'll treat it like the third of previous years, previous preseason years and stuff like that. So I don't know how they'll work the second half, if they'll just completely play like the fourth stringers or anything like that. I don't know, but I think the starters are going to get a good amount of time next week.
Well, I hope you're right and I'm wrong because that's what they need to do, for sure. So what else did we see in the starting offensive group? Terry McLaurin was basically absent.
He had one catch for
and
5,
I think that
right?
was probably that was by design. I think more than anything, I think the team is trying to get some of these other receivers involved. They know what they have in McLaurin. If anybody doesn't need work, it would be him. So I'm not too worried about that. Other receivers,
Brown is starting to impress me. I'll say that about Brown.
Yeah. I had said before I thought he was going to take some time to develop. He's coming along faster than
Right.
I thought he would, so that's a good thing. Good for him, because the team needed. And listen, I mean, everybody needs to understand something. They're not going to keep 7 wide receivers. No. I know our buddy Nolan from Tampa was talking about that in one of his columns. They're going to keep 5, maybe 6 at most. It depends on the kick returner situation. There will be players who are going to be cut. Mm-hmm. McLaurin, Brown, Samuels, those are your guys, and probably Gandy Golden. He was a 4th-round pick last year. Those guys are probably in. So, and maybe Humphreys is probably close to being in too. So, there's not a lot of wiggle room in this group.
No, there really isn't. I will say, I would probably switch Sims with Gandy Golden. I think he's got the trust of the coaching staff pretty good, so I would put him over there. But yeah, I mean, the thing that really and you've heard beat writers say this a little bit about Brown when he's at practice. His play really almost mirrors Terry McLaurin's a lot. I don't know if you guys are starting to pick up on that when you see him out there in these preseason games. But a lot of just the things he's doing, because Terry's fast, but he doesn't break away. And that's what we're seeing with Brown now. He's got NFL speed. He doesn't have elite NFL speed, which is very similar to McLaurin. So he's going to have to make himself into a guy who can just get open with moves and little things like that. When he made that adjustment to get the over-the-shoulder catch from Fitzpatrick, that looked like something Terry did his rookie year. You know what I mean? I see a lot of parallels there, and we've heard that from reporters.
He looked good. Yeah, I mean, he's a better route runner than I thought he'd be. I'm glad he's working out. Let's see much more of that next week.
Yeah,
De'Ami Brown.
Yeah. So for me, I kind of agree with Alex, for sure. Like this is it's a tight race, and as much as I wouldn't even say I've slandered Antonio Gandy Golden. I'm not going to say I did that, but it hasn't been much positive that has come from me. Just speaking on calling it how I see it. I'll give him credit that he had a positive game and a productive game against the Cincinnati Bengals. And that's really good for him, regardless of where he was at in terms of playing against the 1s or 2s or anything like that. Having a game like that where you kind of you really didn't have that many opportunities before, like in any other game. You didn't have that many opportunities. You didn't have that many. Well, you had a few targets against the Carolina Panthers your rookie year, and it was terrible in terms of the production. But just to have that many looks, but also converting on the opportunities that you had, that was a really good game and a confidence booster for anybody in a position like him. So it was a really good game. Shout out to him, and hopefully he has some more looks against Baltimore to see if he can force the coach's hand on a surprise cut or something to that nature.
Yeah. No.
Yeah. Look, I mean, the Cincinnati Bengals defense isn't exactly 85 Bears. Okay. To me, the lack of success was more on Washington than it was Cincinnati. This offense has just not looked good. We've seen flashes, individual performances. De'Ami Brown, great. Antonio Gibson looks like he's made progress. Wonderful. But as a unit, we've seen absolutely zero from him. Absolutely nothing in 2 games. And I'm concerned at this point. What you hope to see is a unit that is smooth and running and score some points. They look like they're getting ready for the regular season, and then boom, get them out of there. Other teams look like this in preseason. Washington hasn't this year, and they haven't in many years in the preseason, and that ultimately reflected in their regular season performance. So I'm concerned about the offense.
I'm concerned about the line and QB play. What I'm seeing right now, though, this is as good a group of specialists as they've had in a while. I will say that. I think you look at this wide receiving core, the running backs, and the tight ends. This is as good of a group as they've had in probably 5-6 years. Maybe more. You go back to the Deshaun Jackson, Pierre Garçon, 2,000 yard. They both got 1,000 yards that one season. That was you had some elite talent. This one's got a lot more guys though who have good talent around them. I feel like so that part's good. But if you don't have a good line, it's all for naught.
But these skill players are all young guys. I mean, Pierre Garçon, Deshaun Jackson were established veterans. That's true. It's just a totally different situation. And yes, these guys have talent, but they just haven't been able to put it together at all. At all.
Well, they haven't had. They've had what do we say? 6 drives to try something.
What have we seen?
Much.
What results have they produced?
Yeah, exactly. And I think we'll all agree there.
Hey, if you remember last week, on Saturday, I said one of the things that I mentioned, man. I said, look, they have to come out and do something because this storyline of, I was more in detail last week, but the storyline of not finishing, not executing, and not looking in sync, it will continue to show and it will continue to grow. And it's 2 weeks in a row where you're looking the same way, and that's just, I'll just say it's just not good. Like, it has to turn around against Baltimore, one of the better defenses in the NFL. It has to turn around regardless of how good they are. You need to show something. You need to put points on the board. You need to move the ball down the field, because if you don't, again, it will become even bigger than what it is now.
No, I agree. Before we flip to the other side of the ball, the defense, I feel like we have to talk about Patterson and just how well he's played these last 2 games. Is there any chance you think that he doesn't make this final roster at this point, or has he shown enough where he's locked in?
Well, of course there's a chance. Who are the locks? Antonio Gibson's a lock. J.D. McKissick's a lock. I don't think Peyton Barber's. The other guys are Peyton Barber, Patterson, and then Jonathan Williams. Certainly, Jonathan Williams is at
bottom.
At the end of the food chain, right? So if they keep 3 running backs, it's a battle between Barber and Patterson. I understand Patterson has shown more in the preseason, but he's also mainly playing against 2s and 3s.
But so is Peyton Barber.
We've seen this before. Yeah, but we know what Peyton Barber is. Personally, I'd probably keep Jarrett or Patterson, but I don't think he's a lock necessarily. No, unless the team decides to keep 4 running backs. But you just can't keep a bunch of receivers and a bunch of running backs, and there's a limit to this. So I don't think it's a lock yet. And I like him, but I don't think he's a lock.
I don't think Peyton Barber's a lock, actually. I was about to say Patterson.
I don't think he is either. I think there's a competition.
Yeah, I think Patterson's on the roster. I think it comes down to whether the coaches want to keep 3 or 4 running backs, and that's where the decision is going to ultimately end up turning on Barber for me. 'Cause I think Patterson made it. I don't think you go after your debut. I don't think coaches who aren't really invested or finding ways to keep you on the roster, I don't think they're going to go out of their way to try and put you on special teams to see what you can do. They're not going to keep giving you passing opportunities to pass or catch the ball, I wouldn't say that, but I wouldn't say they wouldn't give you opportunities, but I would more so say the fact that you're continuing to show that you're a pass catcher, and also give you looks to run in between the tackles, like he's getting those opportunities, and the coaches are working him. I think he had 14 carries yesterday. And that in itself is impressive for a preseason game to have 14 carries, but also have a total of 17, 18 touches in a preseason game, and that's just pretty good. And he took advantage of most of those opportunities. So for me, I think he is a lock. It's just going to come down to whether they want to keep 3 or 4 running backs, because that'll determine where they feel Peyton Barber fits on this team.
Yeah, there is definitely the only tricky part about this is that Barber's the only guy who really can be that short yardage, or who has shown he can be a short yardage specialist. And, that's not a glorious job, but that is a job that you kind of need in a lot of NFL locker rooms. So, that is going to be the only tricky part about this.
I mean, Jamal alluded to this. One thing in Patterson's favor, it's not lost on me that they tried him as a kick returner, and he did well.
Got 37 yards on that kick return.
Yeah, right. And that's something we haven't seen in D.C. here for a long time. So that's not lost on me. I just think Patterson's caught up a little bit in the hype right now in terms of how the fans view him. I like him. Don't misunderstand me. But
he's definitely
I don't think it's decided yet.
Level at this point,
Yeah, I just don't think it's decided. Yeah. That's all.
Hey, Jamal, you're sharing your screen, just so you know.
Yeah, I don't know what I just did. I
don't really like looking at myself, so please take this off.
I don't know how to stop it. I don't even know what I did. That's crazy. Hold on.
Continue. See the screen share button right by the chat button on the bottom right?
Oh, right here.
Yeah.
Oh, there it go.
Oh, thank God, because my computer was about to crack with my face on it.
Oh yeah, that was definitely an accident. I didn't know what I was doing.
Good thing you weren't looking at anything, embarrassing.
It's just Skype up on this computer, buddy. That's it.
Okay, let's talk about the defense and wrap up talking about this game. Much better play overall this week, but there was no Joe Burrow, so we have to take that into account, right? I mean, that's a big thing.
Of course.
Well, yeah, absolutely. This is a lousy Cincinnati Bengals team with their second-string quarterback, so they should have dominated.
Their lousy second-string quarterback. Let's not even pretend it's not like he's a good second-stringer.
Brandon Allen sucked.
I will say this. It's some people that you just have to understand. They just want to argue with you on Twitter, and you have to take that into account before you engage in every single conversation with them. I'm not you. I think you in the clear, man. But they're like, you just have to be aware of that. And when I'm saying what I'm about to say, I felt somebody had asked like how the team was doing. Obviously, we know how the offense were. I told them that the offense looked bad, and the defense was what was the term that I used? They were okay. They were bending but not breaking. So the person responded to me and said they only allow, at that point, he's like, they only allowed like 30-something yards and 1 first down. So I agree with him. Like, yeah, that's it. And I left it at that. But he responded, so how are they bend not breaking and they only allowed 20-something or 30-something yards and 1 touchdown? And I thought about explaining it to him, but then the argument would have ensued and I avoided it. I'll say it on here because this is a way easier platform to explain my point. When I said that to the person who asked about how the team was looking, ladies and gentlemen, yes, that first they had 3 drives at that point. It was the first drive that they had was the play where they threw the screen to Joe Mixon, and it was called back for holding. But on that screen, they gave up like 20-something yards, 25 yards. Who would have known how that drive turned out if it wasn't for that holding? But the point of me saying that is the fact that the holding, it was a hold, but it did not impede in what happened on that screenplay, in my opinion. I felt that
the defensive lineman wasn't going to catch him.
Yeah, he wasn't going to catch him. So I'm like, if it wasn't for that hold, that's 20-something yards down the field already on one play. And who knows how that drive would have ended up turning out. So that was one moment where they gave up a huge play off the rip. The second drive ended up being a punt. And then the third drive was a short field where they started inside the 50 of Washington. And they took it all the way down to the 1 yard line or something like that. So I think they ended up kicking the field goal on that drive as well. But my point was they were bending but not breaking. They had lapses throughout those 3 drives, but they recovered. It was simple as that. After that screen pass, they shut Cincinnati down on that first drive. And then on that third drive, where they drove down the field inside the 50, they got about 30 or 40 yards. They ended up stopping them. So, I mean, it was simple as that. They were bending but not breaking, and that's what I meant when I described that. However, from a collective and overall standpoint, the defense played well. The defense played really good.
Well, a couple things. One, Cincinnati really didn't use Joe Mixon very much. Only had 2 carries. And second, Jamar Chase and others dropped a bunch of balls.
Come on. going. Like that's
Yes.
So Jamar had 2 dropped passes. That I don't know if they would have been all been. Well, I know one for sure was a first down, but he got nervous. Landon Collins was right there. He dropped it. That was definitely a first down. I don't remember the first one. I know it was a slant and he dropped it, but I don't remember if that was for a first down or not. But yes, like opportunities missed on the Cincinnati side as well, and people are just contributing to the fact that Washington's defense played well. They had lapses, and that's all I was getting at. But I'm not going to explain that on Twitter for a person who wants to argue. It will be a pointless exercise.
That's why I'm off of Twitter, Jamal. Yeah, I mean, so certainly I think it's safe to say that the defense is light years ahead of where the offense is. I'm talking starters here. That having been said, they were facing a second-string quarterback and a Cincinnati offense that, like we've just been pointing out, has been giving up opportunities. So just because they look good against Cincinnati doesn't mean they're ready for the Buccaneers. We'll see.
No, they're definitely not ready for the Buccaneers yet.
Here's one thing. Am I the only one that's noticed that Torrey McTyer is getting a ton of playing time with the ones and out there with when things matter? So I wouldn't have expected him to be one of these guys that seems to have curried favor of the coaches. I've noticed that about him.
They held out their top 2 defensive backs this game, and I guess intentionally.
Yeah, but he seems to be the guy behind him, though. I was a little
surprised it was.
He was last week, too.
I thought they would go with, what's his name, the JMU kid, whose name's escaping me.
Jimmy Moreland?
I would have thought Moreland would have gotten that shot, but no. And Benjamin St. Juste was out there, too, of course, and he played really well. I think he flashed pretty impressively this week. One of those things I said last week when, the defense wasn't playing well was that I need to see a couple guys other than Chase Young do something. St. Juste did something this week. Landon Collins had that one really nice hit. I don't remember if that was against the starters or the backups, but it was still a pretty impressive hit,
Well, I know it's kind of like in vogue to hate Landon Collins amongst the fan base, but he's a pretty good safety if you put him in the right role and keep him doing what he does best, which is not out in coverage. His role is as a pseudo linebacker. Call it whatever position you want to call it, but he's the best as an in the box safety and in shallow coverage. And if you do that, he's pretty good. He's a pretty good safety. The team has a pretty good safety group now. Because we know what Cam Curl is. Bobby McClain can play too. He's a pretty good, guy with a wide range of skills, and so the safety group is actually pretty good. I think they need to get some roles situated in the secondary generally, but the secondary I think is light years ahead of where they were last year.
I think it's shaping up pretty nicely. The other group that I was really trying to watch was I think we know who the starters are at linebacker, of course, but I've been talking about for a while how they need to figure out who the depth is. And, I was making fun of them last week, but I will say Mayo played pretty good in the, when he was in there. So maybe he's kind of played himself into that, backup role because they need somebody, Yeah.
No, I was just going to add, I didn't know if you were finished or not, so my bad.
No, it's fine.
I was just going to say, just to piggyback on the McTyer point, he's starting to grow on me. And the way cornerbacks can win me over is the physicality, man. Cornerbacks are known to obviously preserve themselves, and that's perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But when you have that no fear attitude and mentality, and you show that you can hit guys and be physical, like Jimmy Moreland, man. Jimmy Moreland is small. Like, y'all remember the interview that I did with Jimmy at Fan Appreciation Day? I'm 2 feet 2 inches higher than him. I'm probably like 50 pounds heavier than him.
You're 2 feet taller than him.
Yeah, like it's crazy. But you get my point. Like he's and just comparing my size to his size, he's striking. Like he's physical, and you can always win my respect over having that no fear mentality. And seeing McTyer in the instances that he played last night, be physical but also be okay in coverage. He's grown on me, man, and I got to see what coaches were seeing and media was seeing in practices and stuff like that. So it was good to see him on the field, especially taking place over William Jackson III and Kendall Fuller, who both were out.
Yeah.
And in terms of David Mayo, I don't think he played his way into the backup job. I think he was always in the backup job. I mean, he's an established NFL veteran. That's why they brought him here. I don't think he was ever going to not be.
No, I mean, I kind of assumed he was here as for special teams reasons because that's what he really is he's a special teams standout historically.
I just assumed he was always the backup.
Well, the point is, no one played well at linebacker last week. He at least showed something this week. That's the.
Jamie Davis, I thought was a little better. He made some plays. He showed off some of his athleticism. One of the things I did notice on the negative side of Davis is that he's not nearly as good if he gets caught up in the interior. He's not strong enough, to do battle with these offensive linemen one-on-one, and he was handled a couple times when he does get caught up like that. So I think Davis's skill truly is his athletic ability, not necessarily his strength. And I think he does have a ways to go in terms of learning how to best use his skills in the NFL environment. Let me say it like that.
I mean, he's also, at least right now, he looks like he could probably put some more muscle on, and that's going to take time. He looks a little thin for a middle linebacker.
Yeah, I mean, he's listed at 234.
Sure. Which that is honestly a little small for a linebacker these days.
Well, when you're 6'3", it's a little lean.
Yeah, he could probably bulk up to like the 250s or high 240s, something like that at some point. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, that's a lot. But, yeah, I mean, it looks like he could put on some bulk.
Well, and he's also, 21? I mean, Steve, your body changes a little bit in your 20s still.
Mine hasn't changed at all. I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, I feel sorry for you when you were in your 20s then, man. Or your early 20s.
I was just as successful then as I am now, put it that way.
All right, anything else stood out to you guys on defense?
Well, I mean, Dustin Hopkins, made a couple kicks, so everybody relax.
Nice. Tressway, 4 punts.
Whatever.
Yeah.
What was that?
I said, whatever. Man. I said Huskins. Dustin Hopkins. Good for him going 3 for 3, but it's kind of crazy. I actually said this morning. It's kind of crazy seeing a kicker who's a long tenured Washington football player, and you can't trust him from any distance. Like I do. I mean, yes, we talked about that last week. We know.
I'm just going by the stats, Jamal.
Yeah,
That's all.
But I would also tell you, because I didn't have these in hand and I didn't want to care about a kicker argument. If you look at the league averages, he's at the bottom of the barrel. And
no,
yes,
not.
He is. I'm telling you. Matter of fact,
I've been through this. I wrote.
Yes, the 80% is fine, but he's at the bottom of that 80. And matter of fact, I'm gonna have to find it now.
Well, Jamal's microphone is muted here. He's trying to talk, so I will vamp until he turns back on.
It sounds like your mic cut out there, Jamal.
This is just a good opportunity for me to say Jamal's wrong and I'm right. and I went through all these numbers last year. And not much has changed. He's an average NFL average consistent kicker, and he's fairly. The reason why he's still here isn't that he's great; it's that he's been consistent. That's why he's still here. He's not the God's gift to kicking, anything like that. He's not a modern day Mark Mosley, or anything like that. But what he is fairly consistent, and that's why he's still here. So I'm not, again, Hopkins isn't paying me to say this, but I don't think it's at this point you're going to get any better than him, and you're not going to find anybody who's consistent. Not now.
That's always been my argument. If they wanted to bring in someone at the beginning of the offseason, I could have seen it, but at this point, you're not going to find anyone off the street. You could maybe go find somebody who's played in Canada or something and just bring them in for a workout, but that's the best you're going to get, and that.
Well, yeah, there's a bunch of those guys out there,
and those are not ideal. Like I said, Tressway.
Jamal, is your mic? I know, Jamal. I know you were trying to say something, and your mic went out. Did you want to finish your thought on Hopkins?
Can you all hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Yeah, you're back.
All
now.
right. No, I actually stopped because when y'all said that, I thought when my Wi-Fi disconnects, my mic is on one computer and it's not on the same computer as the Skype, so it takes some time to reconnect. But I've been looking for this stat that's about to drive me crazy now. But I would say I have nothing until I find the stat.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Well, there you go. We'll save it for next week then. How about that? We'll have another Hopkins debate after week 3.
Tress Way, 3 punts inside the 20 out of 4. We talked about the Patterson kick return, which was really nice. Got out to, I think, the 39-yard line, so it was
It was 37.
Oh, he got to the 37.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, it was a net gain of plus 14 yards, basically, which is, how many yards you're over where you would be if you let it be a touchback, so the 25-yard line.
Well, that would be 12, but go ahead.
You're right.
Math genius here.
The Steve Sims one drove me nuts. He caught a ball short. I think he caught it at the 5 and only got to the 20.
Here's what I'll say about all this. I think the punt return job is DeAndre Carter's to lose.
Oh, here we go. I found it.
Kick return. Okay, kick returners. Yeah, they've tried a bunch of guys. Okay. They've had some success.
Carter got to the 30, I think. Or, 27. So he netted 2 yards. So, anyway.
All right.
Jamal.
Here we go. From Al Galdi himself, the Mr. Analytic guy. Alex, you're familiar with Al Galdi.
Yes.
Hopkins, I'll just read the tweet verbatim. Dustin Hopkins joined Washington Football in September 2015. Overall NFL field goal percentage since 2015, 85.2. Hopkins, 83.9. Overall NFL percentage on field goals of 40-plus yards since 2015, 75.9%. Hopkins, 72.1. He has been below average over 6 seasons. Yes, he's great on kickoffs, but this extreme loyalty to him is odd. That is his tweet verbatim, and those are the stats that I was saying. Yes, and I said this last week.
Your mic's cutting out again, Jamal. Yeah, your mic cut out a little bit, but you read the whole tweet. Okay, Al Galdi's not right. Al Galdi needs to do a deeper dive into the stats than he has done.
Okay.
I would submit that everybody needs to go read my column from last, October-ish, I think it was.
Around then.
I think it was called How Good Is Dustin Hopkins Really? I think is what the name is. My How Good Is Blank Really column series. I stand by those numbers, and what those numbers told me is Hopkins, A, is average, and B, is far more consistent than most of these kickers. So let's leave it at that. I'm tired of talking kickers. Jamal got his point out. I got his point out. You guys can do the right thing and agree with me, or do the wrong thing and agree
That's.
Want to get to Baltimore real quick?
Let's talk about this last game. They're going against the Ravens. We had some debate earlier here about how much playtime we'll see. Because will they treat it like preseason game 4 last year or in previous years, or will this be the dress rehearsal? I think we're all on the same page. They need to do dress rehearsal because this was not a good dress rehearsal. This was dress rehearsal. The interesting thing is Baltimore, like you said, Steve, this is a really good defense they're going up against. It's a good offense.
Well, Jamal is the one that said that.
Sorry. Wrongly attributed quote.
Oh, good. But yeah, they're going up against a good defense. If you were to ask me I'll just put it this way. They need. I said it before, and I'm sticking to this. They just need to look good. They need to have some sort of cohesion. They need to execute. They can't have any misassignments. And you just want to see. You would prefer Fitzpatrick. I mean, everybody would, but you would just prefer more accuracy from Fitzpatrick. It wasn't like he wasn't like he was making the wrong reads or anything like that. He was just off base. But in terms of the miscommunication with Humphreys, I don't know who was responsible for that. I can't tell you. But you need to obviously see them locked down. We talked, and it's kind of crazy out of all the people on the team, you would expect Humphreys and Fitzpatrick to kind of work a little bit better together. But yes, I just need to see these guys come out there, regardless of what defense they're going up against. They need to look good. They need to match the physicality. They need to execute, and they can't lose too many one-on-ones, whatever that may be up front, or whatever that may be in the wide receiver and cornerbacks and stuff like that. It's put up or shut up time already for me. I'm not going to say this is an important game, but or an important preseason game, but you need to get things on lock because the Los Angeles Chargers is not waiting for your ass. They will come in here and they have a good defense as well. They're coming back healthy. They have a young rookie cornerback in Asante Samuel Jr. who's making plays already preseason and training camp. And then they have an offense who will put the pressure on our offense because they will score points. Regardless of how good our defense is, they will score points. So, yes, they need to get it together against the Baltimore Ravens and show something because if they don't, I have very little confidence that Washington will be able to keep up with the Chargers on week 1.
In terms of Baltimore, I mean, this is a far more serious offense. I guess it depends how long their starters play, because don't forget, this is Lamar Jackson, Marquise Brown, and Sammy Watkins. Yeah. They're about to face. That's a world of difference from Jonathan Allen and a guy who's dropping every pass that comes his way. So we'll see if the defense is, ready for prime time or not. In terms of Baltimore's defense, as Jamal said, it's the starters are a much better group. It's Calais Campbell, Marcus Peters, Patrick Queen, at middle linebacker. There's a lot of good players here. So, my hope is that we see Fitzmagic and not Fitzpatrick. I think that's a major key. And the other thing is, we want to see the offensive line be much more consistent. Yeah. And against a much better defensive front seven.
That's going to be a tough one, I think. But it's going to be the one most worth watching. Is that line? Can the line kind of gel a little bit? I mean, it's a Saturday night game, so we'll be recording Sunday then, guys, and we'll get back to these folks, the normal scheduled for the show, but, it like I'm saying,
Yeah, so that's a good point. So after next week, we will return to our regular 2 shows a week schedule for the regular season, which means we will have game previews on Thursday morning, and then game recaps on Monday morning. For the regular Sunday games at least. So the end of the preseason is here. Maybe we'll come up with a guest. I'll work on that. Maybe we'll get our traditional end of training camp guest in here and make him predict some games.
Okay.
He's not going to like it.
No, he won't. All right, guys. Well, it was good talking to you about this one. It was not the most exciting game, but I think we found out a lot about this team. I think we're finding out, quite a bit in these preseason games. It's good to have football back on.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank God.
All right, guys. We'll see you next week. Later.